Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Last Best Hope for Conversation, your Babylon 5 podcast. I am Jesse Jackson, listening to the rhythm of the rain with my two Babylon 5 partners, Lou.
Hello, everyone. We don't need any manufactured rain sounds here. We have them naturally.
And Karen.
Hello. Yeah, we just had a big storm. And I do have to say, the noise of rain does not help me sleep.
Oh, I'm a boy. When it's rainy and I could just stay in bed.
Nope.
Yeah,
So,
rain or ocean sound. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Makes me want to pee.
Oh, that I can see.
Yes,
we are talking Messages from Earth, the 8th episode of the 3rd season of Babylon 5, originally aired February 19th, 1996. And I don't normally mention the director, but Michael Viger is one of the top directors of Babylon 5. He's done several of the Babylon 5 movies. He's done a lot of Star Trek. He's done a lot of TV. And I think he did a really nice job of directing this. There were some fun angles and some different views that I thought was interesting. And so I thought I'd bring it up. Let's start with you, Karen. I had mentioned that according to JMS, every other episode this season had to do with the arc. So we've started our sprint toward the end. What do you think?
I liked it. A lot of good parts to this episode. Some good Marcus scenes. The fight scene in particular, I thought was pretty good. Good guest stars. And it does give us a lot of things that are part of the big arc, which I really appreciate.
Good. Lou?
it was an interesting episode. Tonally, it was all over the place for me, and I actually found the directing a little distracting at times. But
interesting.
But it definitely set up a lot of things in this episode, and boy, these shadow people—they just like to throw their spaceships all over the place, don't they?
They do. They absolutely do. All right, let's start there. We get a member of this explorer company that goes to look for old technology to use for new things. And she talks about that there is some kind of ship that looks like that the new ship that everyone has been showing around. So we know it's a shadow vessel that's hidden in Mars. And they are worried about what's going to happen with this. And Sheridan gets in street clothes, which I thought might make Karen happy. He looked really good in his Henley and leather jacket. And he's off in the White Star to go take care of business. I also thought of Lou, that he said it's a 2-day jump, and I thought that may think Lou might have questions about that. So I thought there was a little bit of something for everyone. Let's start with you, Karen. What do you think of this storyline?
Yeah, I liked it. I think it's really setting up the strengths that Sheridan has when it's going to come to fighting the shadows, and also his morality when it came to the Agamemnon. And I really did appreciate the Henley. I wasn't going to say the Henley, but I decided to go for funny. I appreciate his commitment to the cause and that he's taking it so seriously. I enjoyed that storyline muchly.
Yeah. Lou, how about you?
Where to start with this? Yeah, I don't know what I thought it was just okay.
Okay.
The 2-day jump to Earth, I think he really took the wind out of my sails. I never even thought about that.
Oh, sorry.
So I'm still trying to process that. Yeah, it was such a different episode that I'm still trying to process it in certain ways. I think the thing that threw me off the most right off the bat was the guest star, Nancy Stafford. She was just like a kind of a walk-off role, and I thought she was a fairly big TV actor in her day, so that was rather interesting how they used her character as basically just a plot device, plot dump to get the story going. And while she was talking about the Mars thing, I was saying, okay, so this just happened recently. But then Garibaldi said that he was a shuttle pilot and he flew over the area. And I go, how long ago are we talking now? So maybe I just misunderstood that part of the episode, but I was a little lost there. And then they said that they found another one on Ganymede, and it was like they built up a whole base around it.
Yeah.
How long ago did they find this thing? And how have they been able to keep this stuff secret for so long? So there's a lot of things I was trying to process during those sections of the episode that just didn't really make a lot of sense to me. But I did like Sheridan jumping into the fray, and the obviously the relationship between him and Delenn is growing deeper. So that was good to see. But overall, it was that part of the episode was weird to me, and it's apparently Babylon 5 is not adhering to the Star Trek school of how to have your actors go to floor shaking school when the ship is under attack, because I found that rather distracting that when the ship was being hit, they just shake the camera, but the actors are just standing still. Nothing's happening. So that I don't know if that's going to be an ongoing thing, but that was weird. And I guess I'm just schooled in the Star Trek method of acting for those kind of scenes. So that was jarring.
Ship acting, they called it. Star Trek people called it.
Yeah, floor shaking action or acting or whatever. But the concept there of these shadow ships being seeded throughout, I don't know how many planets there. Are we going to find out that this is a thing that they've done quite often, or why was there 2 in the Earth solar system? Are there more? And there was a nice little bit with Sheridan wrestling with how to handle the Agamemnon. So I would think that he would have had the same reaction regardless of what Earth ship was, because there was an unintentional inference that, if it was another ship that he would have shot at it. I didn't really buy that either. I don't think he would have shot any Earth ship. That was a little weird, though I understand they want to bring back in past connections and that was good. So it was weird to me, but I did enjoy the idea of the storyline. I just thought the execution was weird, but maybe I'm weird. I don't know.
No, you're not weird.
No, in fact, I think one of the things. All right, let's talk about, in my mind, here's the good and the bad, and you guys discuss it. I loved the scene of Sheridan being the grumpy old man. I'm not tired, when your dad's falling asleep in the recliner.
Yeah.
And it's so
trusting my eyes.
Yeah, exactly. I love the bit of they don't want you to sleep horizontal, so you're trying to lay down and as you're sliding. And I thought that was a really touching moment of Delenn and him talking and him telling about his dad doing the water hose to help him sleep, and then Shim making it rain, which he had no idea. I don't think he suspected that the ship could be able to do that. And that was a lovely. And I did love her line about, if you fall, I'll catch you.
Yeah, that was good.
Do we ever see a bed like that in her quarters? I don't think so.
I don't think we've seen their beds. Yeah.
Well, I will be keeping an eye on it going forward.
Yes. And I love and Cyndi Lauper's, right, time after time had this similar line to that. So that made me smile. I did love when Delenn suggested the movement, and Lanier, wow, I applaud your creative thinking. Like, he can't just say you're crazy. So I thought that was interesting. But the actual purpose of destroying the ship seemed more the MacGuffin. Just the idea of, okay, let's get Sheridan away for a few days because of the Nightwatch stuff.
Mhm.
Let's give him a chance to bond with Delenn. I don't know how important at this point that is that we see, though Delenn does seem to know more about the shadows. She mentions that there's someone at the core of that. And you wonder, hey, Delenn, let's sit down right now over Mambari safe juice and tell me everything you know.
Yeah.
Let's not wait till we're in the middle of something.
You'd think, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's weird that they're doling out information bit by bit, even at this point, when they have those meetings of the War Council.
Yeah.
She's not really getting into details, which
Yeah, I think so. Did the I do like your point, Lou. If it had been a different Earth Alliance ship, would he have been able to fight on it, to shoot it, or did they just want to have the added irony of being the ship he used to command? I don't know that answer.
Like I said, I don't think he would shoot on any airship. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah,
Uh,
me too.
yeah.
Although he might come out of whatever stealth or whatever it was to disable them if it wasn't the Agamemnon. He just didn't
Yeah.
want to interact with them at all. I don't know.
One funny note, someone way back in the day posted, as a reminder, if you're a new listener or this is your first time through Babylon 5, at the time, J. Michael Straczynski was very active on the message boards, really interacting with the audience. And someone said, I didn't see, why wasn't Sheridan's orders being translated? And Joe said, Lanier was off screen mumbling the commands. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, we don't have to see every little
right.
thing.
Yes, but I thought that was nice.
yeah, and that was another thing. Like when Sheridan was pushing the ship into the Jupiter's atmosphere, and he kept on saying, "Wait." I'm going, well, what is he basing his decision on for how long to wait? Is it a gut feel? Like it's not like he's on a it's not like he's on a sailing ship or something like that. That was kind of like, what are you waiting for? Like, what are you waiting for, a certain indicator to light up and say that we're really in deep shit here? We better get out of here. It was kind of like, okay, like that's such a holdover from like a World War II airplane movie or something like that. But in that scenario, it doesn't really translate the same because you have no feeling for anything. Except maybe you could argue how much was a ship shaking, but other than
how much resistance could he feel? Maybe.
Yeah.
Again, I'm just it's just
conjecture. Yeah, but so what was he basing it on? It was kind of like, okay, it was false drama to me because it was false drama.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else about that storyline?
Yeah,
I do agree with you. The actress who plays, she did not have much to do, and that's a shame because, like I said, she's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention her. She was best known for being on Matlock, which I never watched, but I looked her up. I remember her from an episode #1 of Scarecrow and Mrs. King, which I find interesting that there's a lot of links between those two shows. Is Bruce getting them gigs or were they just around? And she was on a pretty big episode of Magnum PI where they had like a treasure hunt.
Okay.
So she was very active back then.
I recognized her right away as soon as I saw her.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And also a Miss Florida in the 80s.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at her. She's a very, known mostly for Matlock. Sidekicks, whatever that was. She did 23 episodes of that.
I remember that show. I never watched it, but I remember it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, she was in like 100 episodes of Matlock.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So let's talk about, we did not get to hear Jakar sing, so I get we should be happy. I thought that was a really lovely little scene.
Yeah.
Me too.
We talked about at times the chief Garibaldi can be back and forth, and it seems like he has really, ever since Jakar didn't lie to him, that one scene, he's been on Jakar's side. And I like the idea of that we've got a petition, they think we're torturing you. And when he says, I'm trying to read that book, if there was a translation, he's, oh, sacrilege. You have to read it on the mother tongue. And he's writing.
Does Garibaldi strike you as the kind of guy who would read a book like that or read, period?
No, it doesn't. And I would think you'd have to, right? You'd have to go try to read and then use the computer to translate a word or two.
Yeah.
And and I don't know if he's just doing that because he's friendshipped,
feels maybe an obligation to read it because
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
what Jakar is going through.
Yeah,
And-
Garibaldi's got a cheering for the underdog streak in him for sure. So
Yeah, he does.
that might be powering part of why he's sticking it out with the book. But in general, I find it really difficult to believe that he would read it.
I don't think he'd do it just
Period.
out of fun.
No.
Yeah.
But I do think
so. It would have been nice if there would have been a throwaway line where he thought that he found something interesting in it, that he was caught his curiosity or interest, but they didn't go there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a question for both of you. Where do you want to speculate where the Jakar storyline is going? And go ahead, Karen, you first, if you have any thoughts.
I'd like to hope that. Oh boy, I didn't even think about this. I'm not thinking that far ahead with his storyline. I really would like him to be in with the War Council in some way. An informant, maybe to use the people that might be in the network he could set up. I don't know.
So I'll ask us a different way, and then I want your Lou. Why do you think we've got him in jail?
I think the purpose of that is for him to, it's like I said in the previous episode, it's kind of like his going out into the desert for 40 days. He's dropping all his previous worldly concerns and issues and whatnot, and he's in a period of self-reflection, especially since he's been manipulated into that position by Kosh. And as to where he's going, I think he's going to become a moral, I don't want to say center, but a moral lighthouse for everybody, and that he will become like a rallying point for people to help them to navigate morally with the decisions that they're making. And I think in the long run, on a more personal level, I think that he is going to provide Londo with some sort of form of, I don't think he can be redeemed, but some sort of an atonement arc.
Okay. Good. All right. Very nice. I thought it was a sweet little scene. I liked seeing them connect. I keep going, shouldn't he be in less formal gear in there? He's got that kind of bothers me.
Maybe that's he wants to carry over the pride he has in his society.
Yeah.
He could be wearing that smoking jacket thing that he had on.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
And I do think it's interesting they write right to left instead of left to right.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
Yeah, and I thought that was very... All right, let's talk Nightwatch. Do we think it is... I'm going to be very careful here. Do you think it's accidental that the guard that is pushing Zach is blonde-haired and blue-eyed?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, but yeah, I get what you're saying there. I thought you were going to say, like, where has this guy been this whole show? Because he's a good actor.
Yeah, he is really
and
good.
Yeah, Vaughn Armstrong. And I'm sure I've seen him on other things, but he's got the right voice. He's got the look that you just mentioned. And I thought that storyline worked as well as it did in this episode, mainly because of him. Because
Agreed.
He's got such an authoritative presence on the screen.
Yeah. And the idea that no one from the Nightwatch needs to worry about it. We know you're above the Lord, and as long as you are saying the right things and doing the right things, you don't have to worry. And I really like how Zach is showing that extra 50 credits a week is now paying too high of a price for him.
Yeah,
let's kind of talk about that storyline.
Sure. Just expounding upon your blonde hair, blue eye thing.
Yeah.
Zach is also fair skinned, very much, what do they call it? Like the superior race type look.
Yeah.
Aryan.
And Aryan, very Aryan. Yeah. And if you notice that Nightwatch dude was looking towards Zach and he had the black female guard over his shoulder, like, I'm not really going to pay attention to you. That was interesting direction, if that was the intent, to show that he didn't really care about her, and he was looking towards the people that would fall more in line with Nazis.
Yeah.
I do think I think he had already started several episodes ago deciding he wasn't in with these guys. And I would like to think that he also would throw his hat in with Garibaldi.
Yeah, the Marin Dungay is the one who played the security guard that brings up the fact that, hey, anyone know where the captain is? I also think it's a little creepy that the security guy was able to pull the logs to see if the captain's been in and out of his quarters. Right? I also could make the argument that if there was a crisis going on that they don't know about, the captain may not be spending time in his quarter.
Right.
But I thought she's also another one that has had a huge story, been a guest cast on tons of stuff from King of Queens, everyone. And it is this kind of, what about the captain? So where do you think, and we see the end, right? Where Clark has declared martial law.
That's some bad news going on there.
That is some very bad news. Go ahead, talk a little bit more about that.
That's pretty much, that's a standard, right?
Yeah.
In regimes that are known for suppression. We have China, Russia. They've all declared martial law in a way of controlling their people, making sure that the people didn't ask too many questions, I guess, would be one reason why they do it. And so that is a big signal to us, the audience, that there's a real push behind hiding their motivations, and also that control of the population thing. And we were in Ivanova's quarters for that report, and seeing their reaction to it after having such a light and fun little interaction, that was very impactful, I thought.
Yeah, Lou, thoughts on this? Did you see that coming?
I think it was telegraphed for quite a while that Earth was definitely going to be taking a contrarian position. I'm curious how this martial law edict exactly works in terms of other planets. Like, what does this mean for Mars? What does it mean for any space stations, colonies that are Earth Alliance owned? What will the inhabitants of those locations do? I imagine it's going to be much similar to how Babylon 5 is going to react. And based on the voiceover narration that we get at the beginning of each episode, it's pretty safe to assume that the 5 is going to take a contrarian position to the Earth Edict. So that will be interesting to see how that plays out as well. And how is this going to affect the security people and other people on the Babylon 5 that are part of the Nightwatch? Are they all going to get booted off, or how long is Sheridan going to put up with the Nightwatch nonsense, I guess, is the next thing to see. Because if they start interfering with the operation of the station and trying to oppose Sheridan and his command, I can't see that situation lasting very long. So there might be some sort of mutiny on Babylon 5 as well. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the ramifications of that martial law decision.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
I wonder, with so many, it looks like there's quite a few security personnel that are in this Nightwatch organization, and I wonder how that's going to play into things. What are they going to end up doing?
Yeah, because I think it's the right question to ask, right? Is this martial law going to continue for everywhere? So is Sheridan no longer in charge of Babylon 5? Is it now somebody else? So we'll see what happens. I do think
It may solve one problem for them, that they don't have to hide their meetings anymore because
that's a good point.
because they're doing such a terrible job as it is right now.
They are.
So they'll be out, and they can be out in the open after if they revolt, which I'm assuming they will, because because of the voiceover narration. And and it's also interesting that the opening montage of this season shows a lot of scenes that we haven't seen yet. So fighting coming. So it'll be interesting to see the actual context of those quick scenes that we're getting every time at the beginning of each episode.
And I do think, all right, so if you guys don't want, listeners, if you don't want to discuss, you're rolling your eyes at us bringing up current events, skip ahead a few minutes. But I am reminded.
Seem to be into that.
Yeah, I am. I always like to give a warning, though.
Yeah.
We have the president being accused of a crime. They had the announcement that his doctor had said that probably he wasn't sick, that it may have just been a convenient thing. And
okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were
on the show.
On the show.
Yes.
I thought you were talking about current events.
Yeah. No.
Really?
And so
also
on the show, the President Clark's supporters are doubling down that I don't care what the evidence is, he is innocent and he's being manipulated, he's being framed.
Yeah.
This is a
sounds very familiar.
Right.
Yes.
Very familiar.
Yes. Yeah. And which gives more. I was telling Linda about this because she walked in at the end of I was almost at the end of my rewatch. And when they announced that there's the martial law, and I told her, I said, what's amazing is this show in the 90s is timely of things that we're going with. So yeah, I'm curious to see this journey, what you guys think of it. I know where we're going, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with you. But before we go, we've got to talk the fun part of the episode.
Yes, please.
So Marcus is the way they say the way to a man's heart is his stomach. He's saying the way to command of his heart is through bacon and eggs. I thought that was an hilarious scene as they're eating blueberry yogurt. Though it does seem like, I'm going to call BS a little bit. I think in the past we've seen them eating other food.
Yeah, not bacon and eggs.
Usually it's lunch or something, because they're always having some sort of a salad or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and they can grow stuff for a salad there on Babylon 5. I'm assuming they don't have chickens or pigs.
No, I do not think they do. Yeah, and so in fact, I don't know if they have any livestock at all.
I assume not.
Yeah, I would think they grow soy.
Yeah.
So a protein. Yeah. But yeah, Marcus brought her bacon and eggs. And where's Marcus getting all this money? Right?
On a 5-mile long spaceship, they would have dedicated some space for agriculture. And I'm just saying that because I just finished watching Silo, and they got levels.
Oh,
they have cornfields and livestock fields and stuff like that. Yeah, comparing, I don't know how big those silos are. I don't know off the top of my head. They are huge, but I should say silo for people who haven't watched the show yet.
No silos.
Yeah, but I know, but some people haven't read the book yet. So
that's true. Sorry.
Yeah. So that's an interesting thing. But you would think they would have some. So they have the atrium area with the plant life and that, because you think you want some plants to help with the carbon dioxide air on oxygen flow. But but your point is taken. And I did laugh at the baby food pablum stuff that they were eating.
Yeah.
Same.
And then, of course, her frustration. And I thought this was really well written, is she's really not mad at Marcus. She's mad that her captain is out there without her. And she's worried about him. So therefore you take it off against him. And he comes with the poster board. Here's the org chart, right? And I thought that was a really funny moment.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, and he said, "It make you smile?" And she goes, yes, then it's mission accomplished.
Then job done.
Yeah. And you're right. It was perfect to have that little moment of levitivity. And then, oh my goodness, dropping the hammer. We're now under martial law.
Yeah.
Yeah. Susan's an interesting character because her go-to position, regardless of what's happening, is to be angry. So even when
Yes.
somebody's doing something nice for her, she still reacts angrily. So it's hard to read when whether or not she's really enjoying something or not, or she's just putting up her normal defense reaction. And I like the way that they're using that. It's a nice payoff in this episode because especially with the eggs and that, she's annoyed, but underneath it all, you can tell that she's pleased that he's made that special effort for her. But she's just embarrassed that it's in front of everybody else. I think in her quarters, she probably, if it would have been in her quarters alone, she would have probably shown a different reaction. But because it was out in public like that, it's embarrassing for her. So that was nicely done.
I think she's someone who doesn't like people knowing her business.
Yep.
I would
for
think
sure.
that is, that's very nice.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I did like their 2 scenes together. They had 2, and they were
Mhm.
both played for laughs. I like that one scene where, and it's on a lot of shows where the person can tell that the other person is distracted, and so they end up saying a lot of weird stuff.
Yes.
And he talks about like space dragons and reptiles, and that his nose is on fire, and that he has something in his pants.
In his pants.
Badgers in his pants. Yeah.
Would you prefer ferrets?
I love that. And she wakes up just in time, and she's okay, whatever, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
I like that. And then that he comes with the org chart was great. First of all, I thought that was cute.
Yeah.
That he had pasted all the like pictures of his parents.
It's a poster board. Like, it's a good picture of them. Yeah.
And I would love it if when he shook it, glitter came off, because I think that would have been awesome, like a homemade project type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those 2 scenes were great. I love seeing them interact with each other, and you can tell that Marcus is smitten, and Ivanova is starting to soften towards him a little bit.
Yeah.
I think
it's not big yet.
Yeah. I particularly like the fact that when she mentioned to him that she's so used to a command structure in everything for her life, not just work, but personal relationships. And he's not on the board, and he's a wild card, and she just doesn't know how to deal with somebody like that. Shall we say, he's a rogue, and she doesn't know how to deal with that. And so what's he do? The very next time they get together, he's got an org chart for her, so that she can
so good
put him in a proper spot in her hierarchy of relationships. So I thought that was, from a character writing perspective, that was very insightful, and I love that. I thought that was one of the best moments in the episode, and very on brand for both of them. I think. Yeah. So I thought was really well done. And I also want to give props to the director for because I called him out. I've called him out a bit I thought some of his shots were a little showy, especially in some of the briefing room sequences where he was doing like those weird close-ups on everybody. But I thought the blocking on the fight scene for Marcus with the rebels or whatever they were, I thought that was really well done. Probably the best fight scene so far that I've seen in the series to date.
I agree 100%. And I love his weapon.
Yeah, I do. I think the fighting pike is just a really cool weapon. And I think
Rocket Robin Hood.
Yeah.
It's a bow staff. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Or anybody that gets that reference.
Yes.
That's very timey.
Or
old.
Daffy Duck playing.
Rocket
Robin Hood.
That's a blast from the past.
It is.
Well, we had Daffy Duck references on the show.
We have.
So.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Anything else we need to visit about on this?
I think we've covered everything.
Yeah. It's not a deep episode, but it's definitely setting up some interesting stuff for sure.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. Good. All right. I'll go first just because we'll rotate. I'm going to give this 8 out of 10 listen to the rain sounds. Lou?
I'll follow that theme, but I'm going to give it 7.5 raindrops keep falling on my head.
Nice.
Raindrops keep falling on my head.
Yes.
And no one knows that song anymore, right?
Absolutely, we do.
Butch
Oh, okay,
Cassidy and the
good.
Sunskits Kid.
Yeah,
Yes, BJ
I-
Thomas.
Yeah.
I picture them riding around
That
on the little
big wheel
bike.
bicycle.
Oh,
Yep.
so good. I'm gonna give it 8 out of 10 glittery org charts.
Ah, nice. I love it.
I
All
really
right.
want there to be glitter on that org chart. I don't know why, I
Yes.
just do.
There
Some
should
stars.
be glitter. Yes. Yeah,
Star and hearts around people's faces.
Oh, stars would be
Well-
good because it's on a space station.
Exactly right.
What else is nice, I think, is the idea that it's on cardboard. It's on a poster board.
Yeah,
It's not, he didn't do something on a screen or anything, just this old school, like an elementary school kid project.
like a science fair project.
Yes, and
Yeah.
you could see him using the jar of paste, not even the Elmer's glue,
Exactly.
but the jar of paste
That
he was
has a little
doing.
brush inside
Yes,
of it.
yes, I could picture that. Yes.
Me too.
With cutting out little pictures. So yes, I love that. All right.
God, I would love to have seen behind the scenes them actually do. I know they didn't do it, but
Yeah,
how funny would that have been?
that would have been hilarious. Karen, I think we got a couple emails, right?
We did. So I'll read the one from David first.
Okay.
Hi, David. Such a nice, innocuous title. We find out that, quote unquote, the package Marcus was waiting for wasn't ingredients for Garibaldi's Magna Cauda. She's Dr. Kirkish, an IPX archaeologist with explosive news for the B5 gang. Earth has known about the shadows for quite some time and is even now trying to recover a shadow ship. By the way, Garibaldi's knowledge of these goings-on was explained in a series of comics that came out about a year before this episode. Interesting. IPX seems like it's involved with some shady business, and each time we've heard of it, makes me wonder if it's a fig leaf or front company for some of the covert operations of the EA. We now know of 2 ships left behind. Are there more scattered about our solar system or on Earth itself? Done. The White Star looks like they've made some improvements, though I don't think the Minbari quite have the concept of beds or even pillows quite down yet. By the way, the story of laying flat is from a trip JMS took to the UK. It was explained to him that in Shakespeare's day, the only people to lay flat in a bed were corpses or the dying. At least we got a great scene of Sheridan and Delenn out of it. Speaking of the UK, Marcus's line about the ferrets down his pants. That's a real thing. He put that all in caps. Io shadow ship Jupiter. Sheridan at his best and his worst. He was at his best dragging the shadow ship into Jupiter's gravity well, and at his worst when he couldn't think of any way to escape the Agamemnon. He was totally torn by indecision. Good thing Delenn had an idea. Meanwhile, back at the station, Nightwatch is definitely becoming a problem, and they now have Sheridan in their sights. Wonder what they will do now that Clark has declared martial law. He puts an ellipses after that. So that's what I'm taking from it. So thank you, David. Excellent email from you, as always.
Yes,
And
indeed.
we also have one from our erstwhile Texas on the Shock. So a nice, quiet episode where not much of note happens. Marcus does something nice for Ivanova and helps out this other woman, and that's about it. Hey now. Marcus does so many things in this episode. He makes an org chart, Texas.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, there's also space dragons we need to watch out for, the kind that eats away the sun every 30 days. It's annoying, but what can you expect from reptiles? But that doesn't hold a candle to when shadow ships have been left just lying around. And with Earth found one. Oh, and when Earth found one, and then another. So Sheridan and Delenn head out to take their new toys away. Some other podcasts have connected this back to Mr. Sebastian in that this was their moment in the dark. If they had failed, they would have died and no one would have known why. The command staff would never be able to talk about it, and for all accounts and purposes, their stories would have come to an abrupt and mysterious end, leaving others to try and carry on in their place. In the fight that follows, we see more Sheridan tactics. He lures the ship dangerously deep into the Jovian atmosphere, then pulls a hard U-turn, leaving it to plummet further into the crushing depths and destroy itself. Then we see another one, but this one comes from Delenn. She's seemingly starting to pick up on his ways of thinking, coming up with an escape plan that's just crazy enough to work. It's notably the first time she improvises, which is something Minbari have difficulty with. And in the end, what did they get for it? They kept a dangerous asset out of Clark's hands, but in the process created the perception of a grave threat to Earth, which gave Clark the perfect opportunity to declare martial law. Garibaldi flat out says it, no good deed goes unpunished. Now for some minor points like that petition. We heard Jakar sing, and I rather liked his voice. When did we hear him sing? Did we hear him sing?
Earlier in the season, I think he did some kind of My Little Fishies or something.
Oh, that was in another season, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're talking about. Nightwatch is beginning to get suspicious of the captain, though Zach is seemingly getting fed up with it all. Something occurred to me recently, thinking back on the last half of season 2. Nightwatch is introduced in the shadow of Zadoon, but then they enter stealth mode. Zach wears the armband, of course, and occasionally talks about the extra 50 credits, but they really don't make their presence known again until the last episode. I think that's how it's meant to come across in universe. It starts out as basically a kind of club, and then they keep it subdued until there are enough of them to start flexing their muscle. By then it's clear they're becoming Clark's enforcers, and it's too late to get rid of them. It's surprising as a longtime fan to realize that because it seems like they're in it a lot more than they are. Bester is similar in that he seems like he's around a lot more than he actually is. The scene in the White Star quarters is quite nice. A little calm before the storm, with Sheridan and Delenn having some time to themselves and learning a bit more about him. And finally, Marcus is trying to get Ivanova to at least tolerate his presence. In her rant at him, she says there's been nothing but trouble since he showed up, that he's a loose cannon, and so on. Now, B5 has had plenty of trouble long before Marcus came along, and him being a loose cannon, not so much. So I attribute this to her just letting her dislike of him influence her thinking. And this is me interjecting. I would say less than dislike, more irritation. She's just irritated with him.
And I wonder, as I read into this, she had just been gone through a very bad breakup of a relationship that had barely just started, and that ended so poorly. I think she's doesn't want to have a relationship, and so is making sure she's keeping everyone away.
Listening to Alanis Morissette or quarters and stuff, being mad at guys.
Yeah.
He does manage to make her laugh in the end, those small victories. And then comes the martial law announcement. What will be the ramifications of this? We'll find out next time when we pass the point of no return, the final threshold. The games we've played till now are at an end. This is the Texas on the Shock signing off in Valen's name.
Thank you, Texas. I appreciate it.
Me too.
And Lou, anything? I know we've had a nice, healthy debate. Anything of notes that we need to cover from our YouTube channel?
Yeah, there's a couple. 11K4468 recommends that we should watch, in regards to Macbeth lore, Season 3, Episode 4 of Blackadder, Sense and Senility.
Okay.
I love Blackadder.
Includes several enactments of the curse, warding, and ritual, among the other hilarities. So there you go. And as alluded to by Texas Shock, that IFE FSX also reinforces the opinion that says, okay, the fun and games are over. Put your seatbelt on for the next ones. All right. So there we go. Forearmed is forewarned.
Okay. By the way, Karen posted us, there was a nice article about Chris Rock maybe the Scottish play Curse is the reason why he got his face slapped, which
Yeah,
I thought was
which
really,
we mentioned.
yes, he did.
Last
I
time, so.
loved reading that again, though. That was great.
Yeah, it was great.
All right, Lou, if someone wants to reach you or find us on YouTube, where can they?
They can find us on YouTube at Lou's Reviews, where, of course, you'll find this podcast along with our JKL Media podcast, where we're currently going through 12 Monkeys. I also have the Writers podcast as well as the Stephen King podcast. On Twitter, you can find me at Lou W. Sitzma. And I do have the S King podcast account, but I'm still locked out of it, and I'm still trying to resolve that issue. That's a slow-going process.
Yeah, thanks, Elon.
Curses. All right, and Karen, how about you?
I am at Eleveria on the various social medias, and my blog is alliesstuff.com.
And I can be found on Twitter at Jesse Jackson DFW. You can hear me talk music on Set Listing Bruce. And coming up this week on Perfectly Good Podcast, Sylvan Groth and I were visited by a musician from Singapore who picked his favorite John Hyatt song and actually broke down musically. So he sent us the clips of what he wanted to talk about, and he gets into some deep discussion of John's choice of songs and chords. So it's a pretty good one. So even if you're not a John Hyatt fan, I recommend this coming Monday as we're recording this episode. It's going to be a good one. All right, next week, it's a point of no return. And I think you're going to like this one, but we will have fun even if we don't, the three of us hanging together.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Yes. So for now, everyone, be kind, take care, and we'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And scene.